Well, that episode took a turn. We went from 0 to 100 really quick. Welcome back, everyone. Hello, it's me, Amanda. You might know me as Vamp, and we are here today to talk about Daredevil, episode 7. This episode was just a roller coaster. I was just laser-eyed right into the episode the whole time. I was dialed in. I couldn't turn away. This was an amped episode. They really, I said, didn't I? I said last time, this is where the show's just gonna be like full throttle, nonstop to the end. And I really believe that to be true. And I think this episode, well, I mean, really, episode 6 was the beginning of that. Episode 7 is the continuation, and it's just gonna, I think, get more hyped as we go. So now it's really gonna be going, like I said, with episode 6, the gloves are off, and we really see it in this episode. Before we get into this, fair warning, spoilers ahead. Obviously, we probably featured some clips in that intro there, and sorry about that if that was too spoilery for you. But you know what you're getting into with these at this point, I like to think. I still like to put spoiler warnings though, just in case. Before we jump into my thoughts, kind of pulling apart what's happening in this episode, there's just so much in terms of story that I really want to examine. But before we do that, let me just give you a quick little synopsis on what happened in this episode. So at this point, Muse is just out there on the streets, and clearly he's got to be stopped. Daredevil has already returned, and as a result, Matt is looking to hone in on Muse and stop him before anyone else gets hurt. However, his friends, like Cherry, are not interested really in helping him become Daredevil again and messing up his life. Meanwhile, he's also having to deal with the fact that Heather is clearly onto him, and he clearly does not want to confess anything about who he really is to his girlfriend, who he claims he loves. Question about that. But that's not all. On the Fisk side of it, we're really seeing Mayor Fisk's mask start to slip as he is dealing with more intense situations that I think he's getting frustrated that he doesn't feel he has full control over, and that his hands are somewhat tied here. And I think he's ready to just say no more red tape at all, and I'm just gonna do my own thing. And my own thing is gonna be basically being Kingpin again. So while he's dealing with the fact that there's vigilantes and Daredevil has returned, which clearly is really messing him up, Muse is also ready to confront the person who he thinks really sees him, which is his therapist, which is, of course, Heather Glenn. Now, this is something I called way back at the beginning, but we get this whole confrontation scene at the same time that Daredevil's doing his investigation and figures out that Heather is clearly the main target for kind of Muse's great work of art, his great finale, which I knew was going to be what this episode was going to be focused on because of the title of the episode. And it all comes to a boiling point at the part where Muse reveals himself to be this killer to Heather and is confronting her in a therapy session. Meanwhile, Daredevil's going across town to get to Heather to save her, and at the same time, Fisk is mounting his team to go in and get Muse as well. Everyone basically figures out Heather is the main target at this point, and everyone kind of zeroes in on that. Fortunately, while Heather is attacked, she does get saved by Daredevil, and then Fisk basically claims all the credit for taking out Muse and for saving Heather, even though Heather's the one that killed Muse and Daredevil's the one that saved Heather. But here we are. And in the aftermath of this, we now are forced to deal with the fact that Muse is gone, which means that Kingpin's sights, and yeah, I said Kingpin's sights because I think he's back, baby, are going to be solely on Daredevil. So that's kind of where we end up with this episode. There is a lot of inner workings and stuff going on, and now this is where we're going to get into all that. I only have one nitpick with this episode, by the way, but I'm going to save that for the end of the video. So if you want to hear my one thing that I just was a little like, you can hear about that at the end. But it is a nitpick, I will admit, but it's a criticism that I have. Let's talk about some of the things that I really love here. So one of my favorite things, I think, is the relationship that we're seeing between Wilson and Vanessa. It's been such an interesting relationship this entire season. I love exploring how their relationship is kind of breaking down, and I'm now starting to, I think, see the veil is lifting, and I'm starting to see what Vanessa is really thinking here. And the thing I love about both Wilson and Vanessa is that I haven't really been able to very clearly determine what it is that they are thinking or looking for. We get little whispers of it, but it's a bit elusive. I love that it's a bit elusive because it's not because it doesn't make sense. It's more just because these are characters of mystery who are also quite complex. But I think what's really going on here is that what Vanessa wants, it's this affair that she had. I don't think it was a real affair made of love. I think she kind of had it hoping that it would pull Wilson back to her because she felt that she had lost the man that she loved. He had left her. He had just left her to do her own thing. And while she knows she's capable to run everything, I think she really enjoys running it with Wilson. And she enjoys the man that she fell in love with, which is Kingpin. Let's be honest. She likes that he's a crime boss. She likes that he makes his own rules and lives by those and makes other people live by those. And while he's been the mayor, he's kind of had to make himself fit into kind of a role that he doesn't quite fit into. And she sees this and wants him back. And so everything she's been doing, I think, is kind of trying to poke him to basically be like, come on, I know my husband's in there. Where is he at? This fully culminates for me, this idea, in one moment. Vanessa is approached by Luca to team up with him to betray Wilson. And it seems like maybe she's kind of into it, although I'm gonna be honest, I never thought she was. I was like, look, Vanessa loves Wilson. That's not gonna happen, even if she has her issues with him, okay? And the reality is, yeah, she does not do that. Well, you think she's sending Luca to take Fisk out. It turns out...
Thank you, Buck.
She's sending Luca to his own death because it's all a setup, and I believe that she was part of it. And the reason I believe that is because Fisk also makes a comment about getting something for Vanessa to bring home when he goes out to dinner. And it's kind of like one of their classic dinners that we remember from kind of Daredevil before, where, you know, you'd rent out the restaurant and they would sit there together. But it seems like she almost stood him up, but she didn't. This was all a setup just to take out Luca. And I love it. I love it. Especially as right now I'm going back through Daredevil season 1. So there are so many things that are tied here. I mean, there are just so many elements. I also feel like there is one issue with Wilson and Vanessa that we're gonna have to deal with, and that is Adam. Wilson did make that promise to Vanessa that he wouldn't kill Adam, which he has kept, to be fair. But I don't know how Vanessa is going to react to him keeping Adam locked up. However, part of me also feels like maybe she's going to be into that because it's going to remind her of the man that he was. And maybe when she said, just don't kill him, what she really meant was, I want you to actually kill him. You know what I mean? Like, it was a little like, oh, please don't. Unless you want to, and then maybe become Kingpin again, which maybe I'd be into. So we'll see when that gets revealed what happens. I think it's gonna be a big moment. Speaking of callbacks though to season 1 vibes, we also get some interesting elements between Matt and Heather. There's a whole part where we get the shower scene, guys. I was waiting for the shower scene, I can't deny. And why was this shower scene so freaking hot? They made it way hotter than it needed to be. I don't know if I was just into it. I don't know. I'm gonna admit to you guys, I don't normally have like crushes on celebrities or actors or anything like that. I can appreciate their craft. But dang, why is Charlie Cox so hot though? He just is. I'm just gonna say it. He is both so talented, but also he's a sexy man, especially as Matt Murdock. He really just captures that essence. And in the shower, I love how he deflects. He has this giant bruise on his back, and Heather's like, what is that? And he's like, wait, let me kiss you. And all of a sudden, we are in the shower scene. And then afterwards, Heather, though, is not distracted enough that she doesn't call him out about what's going on with that. They have this whole conversation where he denies any wrongdoing, any lies, and just says, I'm a blind guy, I fall. In this episode, it's not everyone reminding Matt that he's blind, it's Matt reminding Heather that he's blind and using it as a reason for why he has bruises on him. Which is also another fun callback to the comics, since that is a thing Matt does in the comics, just like how in the comics a lot of people like to remind Matt that he's blind. And when it comes to the season 1 thing that this whole scene, a few scenes, reminded me of, it's also that he goes and touches Heather's face. And this is going to be important because later he's touching Muse's art, and that's how he figures out that it's Heather's face, because he knows what Heather's face looks like through touch. I also just got to the part in season 1 recently where Foggy and Karen are having that whole conversation about how Matt sees people by touching their faces, and then Karen asks Foggy to touch her face. I love that scene. It's so kind of like weirdly sexy and awkward sexy. It's just a fun moment to be watching, and then also have this happen in the episode. And all of this that goes on is building towards this moment with Heather and Muse. And I think after Daredevil saves Heather, he even says her name when he's saving her. A bit of a slip, considering you didn't tell her that you were Daredevil, Matt. Afterwards, he has the opportunity to really confess. And I mean, he could have confessed. There's a few moments here where I think Matt could have just opened up to Heather and been real with her that he's Daredevil. But he chooses not to. And it's interesting because as Matt seems to be donning his mask more, his true identity really of Daredevil, it's creating distance between him and Heather. Whereas on the other side, we have a bit of a parallel, but a difference here with Kingpin, who, as Wilson is becoming more Kingpin, it seems that he's actually getting closer with Vanessa again. So different ways that their true selves are affecting their relationships. I love when Matt says to Heather too, like, it just feels like everything's fake, you know? I was like, wow. Really, really great time to say that, Matt. I feel like, I think you think it's fake because it is, because you're kind of living a lie here and you won't even be honest with your partner. I don't see this ending well. That's what I'm going to say. Sadly, as Heather does end up taking out Muse, when Daredevil comes to save her, she shoots him and kills him. As a result of this, Muse is seemingly gone. He is dead on the scene, unless he's not. In the comics, Muse actually does come back. He kind of comes back in a weird way. Comes back as like a ghost, but the first time he actually gets arrested and then put away, and then he comes back, and then after that he dies. He dies in a crazier way in the comics, I will say that. He goes up as art, kind of in defiance of everyone else. It's a whole moment. But when he finally passes on, he actually comes back as a ghost, as a muse, to inspire another artist. So that's another thing that has happened. So it is possible we could see him again. I don't know. I will say I feel like they built him up to be so cool. Also, the fact that his suit is made out of canvas, this is something I just realized, and it is so sick. The whole suit, the whole look, they really nailed it. They really nailed this character, so to see him go so soon, it's kind of upsetting. But that's why I also feel like maybe he's not gone. Foggy's gone, but maybe he's also not gone. We shall see. However, I would add as well that this is a point that is important, because the whole reason I think we've really gotten Muse out of the picture here, as cool as he was, is because, let's be honest, Muse is not really what Born Again is about. Born Again, as a comic story, and also in this show, I really think is about the relationship between Daredevil and Kingpin. It's these two people really feuding on these opposite sides, but with so many similarities connecting them as well. And I think Born Again actually is going to start right here. Of course, we're also going to get the Punisher back, and I think the Punisher will come back because Daredevil is going to be in Fisk's sights now, and because his team took out Muse and saved Heather Glenn. As a result, he's going to just give them free reign. They're going to be all Punishered up, and that's what's going to draw Frank out. That's my theory anyways. We'll see what happens. I also feel like Adam is going to kind of come back around, because we had that whole scene in the sort of mid-season trailer with Wilson and Vanessa. I can't wait to get those Wilson finger guns, by the way. Wilson and Vanessa on the couch, and they seem to be in their kind of, I guess, gala or whatever's going on, those outfits. And there was like a body kind of in front of them. We can't see who it is. I think it's a body. I think it's going to be Adam, but we'll see. But I think as a result of Fisk zeroing in on Daredevil, this is the Born Again stuff. The Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli Born Again stuff coming back up, which, by the way, I did recently do a review over on my Patreon of Born Again. I went through all of it and discussed my thoughts on the entire story, and I'm also going to be doing a video just kind of explaining the significance of it. So for those of you that might not be as aware of it, or maybe haven't read it, or just, you know, want my thoughts on how it kind of features into this show and why it's an important story for Daredevil, check out that video when it comes out soon. Hopefully quite soon, hopefully later this week. That's all I have for this one. My one nitpick, though, I will say before I go, is just that it felt very convenient how everything came together with Heather. Even the fact that Muse confronts her in her office in a therapy session, I was like, well, where are you going to go with her? Because how are you going to get out of this office? I feel like it's the middle of the day. It's going to be super suspicious. Also, a lot of therapists, if they are in a practice, they're going to have like a secretary or something. However, it is possible that Heather, you know, she just does her own thing. And I will say I have therapists that literally just operated by themselves, which I also kind of feel now feels really scary to me, because what if the person that you're treating ends up being a serial killer? Probably not super common, but You know, it could happen, like in this scenario. Anyways, I felt it was a little weird, that whole confrontation in the office, but I was able to suspend my disbelief a bit for that and be like, well, maybe she is on her own and maybe no one can hear what's going on, even though it's kind of loud in the office. And then my other thought was, like, Daredevil figures it out at the same time that the police do, and they basically look at the art and are just like, well, we've ID'd it as Heather Glenn. And I was like, what did that happen so fast, especially in New York City where you have so many people? I don't know, but I'm willing to suspend my disbelief because I feel like if I can do that whenever I've watched CSI, I can do that one time for Born Again. So that's my only nitpick. Overall, though, this is still a 5 out of 5 episode. I gotta be honest with you, even with the nitpick, it's just not enough for me to remove any points. This episode was so good, and the pacing is fire. I can't wait to watch the next episode and see where we go. That's all I have for this one. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you missed it, I've been doing reviews on this for a while. Check it out over here. I'll see you next time, and until then, friends, stay nerdy. Bye!